y'all, here's how it's fixing to go down. Well, this is Brian with today's Flying Bar Rail video. Flying Bar Rail finna have to play GM certified mechanic, cause I do it all, you know. That's my game. I can do anything, anytime. We're taking this Murray brand new air conditioning compressor. I'm gonna be taking the old one off that's way down underneath there under all that bull crap. And I'm gonna be putting this one in its place. Cause like I said, I do it all. There's the old one. He's gonna be coming out. And this one is gonna be taking its place. Hey y'all, pardon the interruption, but I want to remind you to head over to flyingbarl.com, get you some branded merch over there, and become part of the herd. Tensioner to loosen the belt. And now the belt is off. Basically just put a 1/2 inch ratchet in that little slot right down there. Push it down. It loosens the belt. You slip it off and the AC compressor, which is, as we said before, right down there. That's it. The agenda will be to locate the bolts that hold it on and remove the bolt right in between there that hold the hoses onto it. I've already had the Freon and stuff vacuumed from the system, so no worries there. One good way to see where the bolt holes are at is to open the new one. Oh, instruction and procedures. Here's what I think about that. The act of Congress getting it out of there. Okay. 1, 2, 3 bolts to hold it on. All right. 2 top, 1 bottom. Okay, the bolt that holds the hoses on the compressor is 13mm. Short extension on a 3/8 drive. We'll be removing the hoses now. Woo! Okay, you can see the spot where the hoses were. I actually put them inside a Walmart bag, the connection to keep it from getting debris and dust and all that kind of garbage on it. I don't know if you can see it or not, but when you take the hoses loose, you see that bolt head, it's kind of faint there. It actually goes through a wiring loop, and so when you take the bolt out, you can just leave it hanging in that wiring loop. But there's where the hoses were attached, and you can see the threaded hole right in the center. Got a high side and a low side. High side's the small one, low side's the big one. It feels like there's a stud on the sticking through that one because it has a nut and not a bolt. But it feels to be like 13 millimeters. So I'm about to try to take those loose. You know, 1, 2, 3, like we talked about. On the old one right here. So I'm gonna try to do that. See how it goes. Yep, yep.
You're a better beer drinker, buddy. I've got news for you. My town's smaller than your town, and I got a bigger.
To show y'all exactly where I've taken the bolts from, but I've taken the one out of the back that's close to the top of the compressor, and then I've removed the one that was close to the front on the top of the compressor. Now I have to try to reach under and get the one on the bottom loose, which the compressor is sitting in the car just like that right there. So the one right there on the bottom is the one I got to get to now.
Yard with a floorboard full of Slim Jims. I where I want to, and I feel.
Right, because of lack of room, I had to go and get a deep 13 millimeter socket instead of using the extension and shallow 13. There wasn't enough clearance between the frame and the or the fender, I guess it is. Probably not really the frame, but between that and the bolt head. So here I go. Deep 13 millimeter socket, bottom bolt.
My truck's louder than your truck. My dick sounds a little more blue. You might think that you're redneck, but I'm redneck.
Alright, all 3 bolts, hoses have been removed. The plug that goes to the electric clutch on it has been unplugged. And now it's just a matter of seeing if it has clearance to actually come out or not. If it doesn't, I'll probably have to remove some other things to get that to happen. So we'll see how that goes.
Tailgate, I killed a copperhead a time or two. And man, if you're thinking you're a better beer drinker, buddy, I've got news for you. My town's smaller than your town, and I got a.
Alright, all you mechanically inclined folks, let me run something by you here real quick on this Chevy Camaro AC 2012 Camaro AC compressor change out. What happens is the what's the power steering pump, and I'll show you here in just a second, but it's in the way and you can't slide the compressor off of the there's one stud on the top of the bracket that the compressor hangs on, and the stud keeps it from being able to drop down and slide out underneath the power steering pump. So you have to take the whole entire bracket off, which is another 4 bolts. It's not that hard to do, but it takes you a minute to figure it out if you hadn't done it. And what I'm talking about, the power steering pump is right there. Well, that compressor was right under there, and there's a line that's right here, and it comes off the bottom of the power steering pump Well, that it hits the compressor hits it when you try to slide it off of that stud that's made onto that bracket. Okay, here's the bracket right there that is hanging on. When it's in the car, it's sitting like this. The stud's right there at the top, and the compressor, the top bolt and the compressor right there slides onto that. Well, if you're like me and you have to do it this way, but I'm fixing to find out something and I'll let you know if it works. But this hole right here is where a bolt goes through the compressor and mounts to the bracket. That's a hole that mounts the bracket to the block of the car. And up here in the front, you got two more, and they'll be on the front of the motor, because the bracket will be sitting in there like that, you know, inside the car. When it's mounted to the motor, it's sitting like that. I don't know if you can see that, but that's how it's sitting in the car. But if you'll notice something, this stud here actually has like a hex type end on it, and I'd be willing to bet that we can put a socket that's small enough on that thing and back that stud out. But hold on just a second and we'll go try it out. Alright, y'all, that's the stud that I'm talking about. I didn't have a socket that would actually fit on it, so rather than trying to take it out just to prove my point, I just mounted the bracket onto the new compressor. I'm going to try to drop it in around those hoses and stuff and see if I can get it in there. That way I didn't tighten them. I just put them, you know, handy tight with the ratchet, and I'm going to see if I can get it in there. If I can't, then I'll have to drop it all in there, put the bracket down in there, and then drop the compressor in behind it, and then put it on the bracket and then slide it back under there. But I'm hoping that it'll all fit through there and you know, get back under the power steering pump where it's supposed to be. So let me give it a shot.
I got a car parked in the front yard with a floorboard full of Slim Jims. I fish where I want to, and I fish where I swim. Yeah, I bet you ain't.
Alright, not gonna lie, homies, it is a booger bear to get that thing back in there without taking everything loose, all the hoses, all that kind of stuff. It's mainly the power steering stuff that gets in the way, and what I did was I ended up having to take it back off of the bracket, you know, that I showed you that I took out, and dropped the bracket down in there, and then I dropped the compressor in on top of it, slid that stud through the top bolt on the compressor, wiggled, jiggled, held my mouth right, and finally it slipped back under there where it's supposed to be. So now it's just a matter of putting the bolts back in the bracket, tightening those down, and then I will tighten the bolts that hold the compressor to the bracket. Yep.
Got it on a tailgate. I killed a copperhead a time or two. And man, if you're thinking you're a better beer drinker, buddy, I've got news for you. My town's smaller than your town, and I got a bigger bucket that's on my wall. I got a little more kick in my draw, y'all. I got a little more spit in my jaw. And my truck's louder than your truck, and my dick counts a little more blue. You might think that you're redneck, but I'm rednecker than you. I'm rednecker
bracket back up there. All the bolts in it are tight. Now I'm gonna take the bolts for the actual compressor itself, snug it back down. Then I will take out the shipping bolt plug that's on the compressor to keep debris and crap out of it. It's also comes with oil in it, so I think it's kind of important not to take that out until you're ready to put the hoses back onto it. Otherwise, you're gonna lose oil and you're gonna get crap in there that you don't want in there.
I got a car parked in the front yard with a floorboard full of Slim Jims. I where I want to.
All right, y'all. Here's what's went down since I turned the camera off, or it actually shut itself off. I put the bracket on. Of course, I think I showed y'all that. Slid the compressor on it. Bolted the bracket down, then bolted the compressor back to the bracket after it's all kind of down in there. And then I removed the old gaskets from the hoses where the hoses tie into the compressor, put the new ones on, tied the hose into the compressor, plugged the coil in for the clutch on the front of the compressor, plugged it back in, and now I just got to put the belt back on, and then tighten up, put the air cleaner box back in here because I had to take it out, of course, to to have room to get to everything. But it's simple, just got 2 bolts and then a little plastic flange that goes in the front of it where air is forced into the the intake or whatever. So let me show you a picture of that. Okay, new compressors right there. I told you I tied back in the hoses. Of course, they come down and tie right. That's the plug to plug the clutch back in on the compressor. And of course, you already should have taken them loose by now, but the hoses tie right back in there. I'm just showing you a freaking mess, but anyway, the hoses go right down in there onto the compressor. And then there's a bolt in the middle, you just tighten that back down after you put the new metal. It's like a washer with a O-ring made into it. You just slip those over the end of it, drop them back in there, and then cinch it down. I believe the directions say like 30 or 40 foot-pounds of torque, so you don't want to get it nut busting tight, but tight enough, New compressor installed. The belt is back on. Now I just have to put the air cleaner, breather, whatever you want to call it. Goes right up in here. There's a stud there and a stud over there that it sits down on, and then you just tighten it down, put the filter back in it, and then cinch it down.
Your town, and I got a bigger bucket that's on my wall. I got a little more kick in my draw, y'all. I got a little more spit in my jaw. In my truck.
It's it all put back together with the air cleaner and everything back in. It's dusty in there, but we drive down the dirt road, I guess, quite a bit. But anyway, compressor's buried again like it used to be. So that's it, folks. GM certified mechanic. Not. All right, y'all. Total time probably 2.5 hours of installation. I haven't charged it yet with Freon, but that's next. So, but that's for a whole nother video. This particular car doesn't have an orifice, it has an expansion valve. So I went ahead and ordered the expansion valve. I'm gonna go ahead and change it out too, just to be safe in case there's any trash or debris that got in the lines. And I'll have a little vacuum pump that I'll put on there, vacuum the system out, and then charge it with oil and Freon, and hopefully she blow cold air. All right, y'all, on the flying bar rail scale of difficulty, this was a 4.5-er. but mainly because it was hot and I was thirsty. All right, till next time, thank y'all. I want to ask you to please like and subscribe, become a part of the Flying Bar L herd. See ya!